welcome Justine Blazer and Bobby Balow from Nashville. I have actually a little blurb about Justine, but Justine is a producer, songwriter, composer, and vocalist out of Nashville, as I said, Tennessee. She recently was nominated for Music Producer of the Year and Female Artist of the Year for the Josie Music Awards. She also recently released a single called Plague, and it was not necessarily connected to the pandemic, but it just happened it was. And you are working on a new EP for winter 2021, as you told us. And you work full-time as a music producer, vocal coaching, artist development, consulting, branding, songwriting, and more with independent labels, publishing companies, and artists. And I reach out to you to really share with everybody, as an artist yourself, as a self-produce, and the fact that you produce yourself, how you combine the two, and share. So how are you today? And welcome.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. And here we are.
Here we are. And you're with us with Bobby. Balow was a mixing and mastering engineer, and that's what the lower third says. But you have a PhD in chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story that goes with that, but yeah.
So I will say, if nobody is not interested about being an artist and a producer, we can talk. That was my cat. We can talk about chemistry. All right, so I'll disappear and I'll let you kick this off. Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. So welcome everybody. Like Loic said, my name is Bobby Balow. I'm a mixing and mastering engineer out of DC, Washington, DC. And welcome to the 2020 Music Expo virtual conference. Today, I'm joined by Justine Blazer, who doesn't really need much more of an introduction after Loic ran through her list of accolades. But she's a music producer, vocalist. She's been seen on Vivo, GAC, MTV, and it goes on. And she's very talented. I'm so honored to be moderating this session. And with that, welcome everybody. Justine, how have you been? It's so good to see you.
Great. Yeah, I know. It's so good to see you too. We go back a few years. In fact, we were, in Orlando together and in Las Vegas, Nashville, LA. We actually stayed at the same Airbnb with Rashid and Ben Johnson at NAMM. So we've been friends for a few years. So I'm really happy that you're able to moderate today.
Yeah. So today we're going to discuss 5 key points for the artist as the producer, which are creating a niche in space in the market, the technical versus creative process, being a blank canvas and a chameleon, adaptability, flexibility, and innovation in a current and post-COVID world. And I know that's gonna be a hot topic today. And then learn, understand, and play to the psychology of your market, audience, and clientele. And with that, we'll just get right to the first point, which is creating a niche in space in the market. So for this first topic, Justine, could you give some advice for producers who are trying to break into the music industry in 2020?
Absolutely. So thanks, Bobby. Creating a niche and space in the market is essential, especially now with everything that's going on with the pandemic. What I mean by this is you need to start thinking in ways that you have not thought in before. And I'll give you a few examples. So for pre-COVID, I was actually playing downtown Nashville 5 to 6 shows a week. That's right, a week. I was working very, very hard and I was producing music, but it was more on a sort of part-time level. Well, 6 months ago, that all kind of came to a screeching halt and I went into producing 100% of the time. I shortly there signed with a publishing deal for sync licensing. And the reason why I believe that I got signed over all the other people that were probably, kind of in the running was because I was really self-contained, really self-sufficient. I had my own studio. I was able to do the entire job from start to finish. And so this is an asset in the commodity in the music industry, especially in a very, very competitive market such as Nashville. I also decided to start developing artists artists more. So it went from just like, hey, show up, I'll track your songs, go home, have a nice day. It actually went to more like, I'm developing them, we're creating songs together, we're crafting, we're getting their branding, their imaging, and creating everything, kind of an overall service from start to finish. So everything that's also turned into directing music videos. I'm doing that now. I've done 3 now. I actually have 3 this weekend. I have 3 in the month of September, and it's actually going very, very well. And it's an extension of my brand. It's an extension of what I'm able to do and offer to my artists. So that's what I mean by thinking innovatively. A year ago, I would have never have had the same conversation. It wouldn't have been able to kind of push myself to sort of a new realm. When you don't have those resources cut off, you don't really think that way. So you want to challenge yourself and be able to think in ways that you've never thought before and push yourself. It's going to be a little uncomfortable in the beginning, but once you kind of break through that, you're going to see what you can do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that you're able to like think beyond just the music part and see the big picture, because I think that's huge, and it really draws a lot of attention to you as a producer and a musician. So yeah, great point. So how does one go about creating that niche? Like, I know producers, especially new producers, it can be really hard to know where to start.
Absolutely. So you have to figure out what your sound is. If you're mainly a producer, you need to figure out, what am I best at? So for me, it was being, a female vocalist, a vocal producer, and, kind of working in that pop, country, rock realm. So obviously I wouldn't try to go out and like record a metal band. That's not really like what I do, but you need to kind of figure out where you fall. Are you more hip hop? Are you EDM? Are you, kind of somewhere in the between? Are you something really obscure and experimental? So you have to kind of lay that out first. For me, like I said, it was, thousands of girls in Nashville that probably look like me and sing and write music. That doesn't make you special. So for me, it was able to market myself a little bit more further, be able to kind of be a self-contained package. So when a client came to me and like, hey, I need a track done, I'm able to confidently go through that process. So you want to be able to kind of do it all start to finish, learn, challenge yourself, learn the technology, and, don't overwhelm yourself, but you definitely want to take the right steps to get into that direction so you can be a commodity in your market too.
Yeah, it sounds almost like you're almost like a coach for your clients.
I actually have a couple of my clients on the stream today, so I'm sure they can vouch for that.
Awesome. So, yeah. So Justine, could you walk us through a day in the studio with Justine Blazer? Like, what's the creative and technical process look like from start to finish?
Yeah, so technical and creative process is very, very important. So I will discuss my step-by-step process with that. I'm actually going to give you all an example. So recently, I was working with a publishing house. They're affiliated with Sony Orchard, and they came to me and they said, hey, we have this song, and they give you this work tape, and that's about it. And they give you a few notes. It's usually out of time, out of tune. It's some sort of phone memo. Vocals are haywire, lyrics are crazy, and I have to interpret that. So I wanted to give you guys an example. We're going to play an audio file right now. It's about 2 minutes long, and it's going to kind of explain this process. So check it out.
This is what I received from the client, the original work tape.
For an intro, maybe something like this. I don't know if that's vocally or if that's instrumental, but that little hook there coming in after the beginning at the first chorus and maybe on the tag out. Just a thought. Why don't we give our love a try? Chase down the stars inside our eyes, get caught up in the flames till we can't breathe.
And this is the final product after receiving the work tape notes from the songwriter and client. Here's what I did. I did everything on this track. I built the beat, the bass, the drum, the guitar, all the MIDI, did all the vocals, tuned it, mixed it, mastered it, and here it is. Enjoy.
Why don't we give our love a try? Chase down the stars inside our eyes, get caught up in the flames till we can't breathe. Why don't we turn this passion loose to what newfound lovers do? Embrace the chance to chase a dream. Oh baby, why don't we?
So that's just kind of a day in the life of kind of what I do. Also, that's, basically working with different clients, other songwriters. It's easier if the client can come in and they can kind of be sitting next to me. We can kind of go through the track together. But that's probably one of my most challenging projects, because this was done remotely and that was the only instruction that I had received. So luckily they liked it, and they're shopping that, to sync licensing placements right now. So but yeah, to kind of taking it back to sort of the technical baseline. So I'm going to show a PDF file. This is a chart that I made. So usually when I get a demo or a track, like you guys heard, some sort of random phone recording, I try to make sense of that. So a lot of times I'm guessing what the numbers are. I use what they call the Nashville number system. Can you guys see that chart? And basically what it is it's sort of my technical guide of all my stuff. So what I do is I write that chart out. I kind of go into my DAW and kind of lay out like a scratch acoustic or a scratch piano. And then I do like a scratch vocal. And then from there, I start building that track. So as a music producer, that seems to be pretty familiar with anyone that's probably watching this. You start with your beat, you program your MIDI, you start getting your synths in there, you start getting all the elements, and you have to kind of look at it from a creative aspect. So your technical stuff is laid out. You have your grid, you have your measures, you have your BPM, you have your chart, you have your key, you have all that stuff. And then kind of looking at it past the technical side and saying, what does the song need? You have to kind of look at it like a picture. Does it need more high end? Does it need more of those low kind of subs? Does it need something where it's atmospheric vocals? Does it need something really punchy? And all those questions are going on in my brain all the time simultaneously as I'm kind of laying out those stems. So it just takes time and practice, but you have to kind of have that vision from the very, very get-go and make sure you know what's going on. That technical aspect is super, super important when you're coming up with a track for a final client or a final project.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that Nashville has its own number system when it comes to writing music.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, but everyone kind of uses it. So yeah.
You're gonna have to teach me more about that. I'm interested. I'll Google it and I'll report back.
If you guys want to get more information about it, honestly, like go to Google and just put Nashville number system, and it'll kind of give you like a little cheat sheet. So if the song's in E, your 4 would be the A. If it's in E, your B would be the 5. So just it's not that hard. But the reason why we do the numbers is because, like, let's say I come in here and the artist is like, oh, I want this song in change X, up or down a key. So the numbers still stay the same, if that makes sense. I can just take my MIDI and just pull it down a whole key, but it's still a 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 6 minor. So it never changes. So that kind of helps. Versus A, you got to rewrite all the letters. That's a little. You got to think about streamlining your workflow, making it faster.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about growing your brand as a producer, because I know how challenging that can be. It's something I've struggled with tremendously. Do you have any advice when working with new clients or meeting a potential client, or even someone who might want to that you might want to collaborate with?
Yeah. So you gotta get up every day, and you gotta be motivated. You gotta be excited about the process. No one's over your shoulder, like checking on you. So it's up to you to kind of create your own environment and your own success. So yeah, you have to kind of look at yourself as a chameleon. I'm kind of a type A. I'm sort of an alpha personality. However, in the studio, I'd like to believe I'm more submissive. When a client comes in, I kind of have to feed off them. Are they wanting to chit chat? They want to kind of talk. So they want to kind of like go right into their tracks, and I kind of have to just let go with the flow in that aspect. So you need to be interchangeable in the fact that sometimes people are just going to want to get to work. They're a little bit more focused on the project. Some people are a little bit more scared and they're more timid, and you have to kind of feed off that. So, and being that blank canvas, once again, it's just kind of serving that client, serving that song, serving that project, and not kind of taking over too much, but not kind of being too much in like laid backville. You got to kind of find that happy medium, and that just kind of takes trial and error. And then just be open to new endeavors and new ideas. Think bigger, don't limit yourself, and just really try to challenge yourself and embrace every opportunity the best that you can. That's all you can do, is just do the best that you possibly can.
Yeah. You know, that those are great points. So it's almost like you're essentially trying to make them feel comfortable in the studio, right? By just not necessarily exerting your dominant personality, but just making them comfortable.
It's true. They come in here and it's about them. It's their time and it's their moment to shine. So we try not to have any distractions. I don't have the phone going and it's all about them. We do coffee, we do snacks, we do water, we do whatever we got to do. We sometimes we just talk for an hour, just catching up on life and whatever it is. Yeah, it's all part of it. So most of my projects, I don't charge hourly. So I pretty much work till the project is done. They pay me a flat rate for that project. And I don't sit there and go, okay, it's been 30 minutes. We got to get, I don't do that. We just kind of chill. And I want them to feel comfortable because I'm not sure about other people, but for me personally, I've recorded 7 albums over my career. And I'll tell you what, most of the experiences that I had were very uncomfortable. I did not feel welcome. I felt very intimidated. I felt like I was just off, kind of my ideas did not matter. And I still feel like that even today. They sometimes forget that I'm like the producer and I walk into these places and it's like, nope, and so sometimes it's still there and it's just kind of this more old school way and they're not realizing that it is shifting, it is moving. I am a female in this industry, so it is what it is. And so I'm just trying to do the best I can and just try to, find my space in the market. But I know when my clients come to my studio, it's about them 100%. And I make them feel as welcome and as, happy and excited and motivated as possible. Because I really do feel that this is not an act. I'm not faking this. I really am this excited all the time about doing this.
That's awesome. As you know, we live in a pretty strange time right now with concerts and other live music events being essentially like shut down, at least in the U.S. And we are hopefully in the tail end of COVID-19, but it's still uncertain at this point how much longer things will remain like this. Could you tell us about your thoughts on how COVID-19 has affected you and maybe some things that you've done as a producer to adapt under these circumstances? The tables have completely changed. So I'm interested in hearing how you've managed to make this work.
Well, first thing, I wear a mask at my sessions now. That's number one. That's changed. So no, but in all seriousness, it's just, staying on top of your technical skills. In Nashville, I have tons and tons of music friends. And unfortunately, most are kind of falling behind and they're going to be kind of left in the dust because there's people like myself. There's my partner, Lou Molich. There's my other partner, Isaac Velasquez. The list goes on of my team of people that I work with in Nashville. And they've all gotten into what I do, but they're specializing in their niche. So Lou, specializes in guitar tracks. Isaac specializes in, drum tracks, and the list goes on. And I've actually helped those guys with their setup and their rig and their IOs and all those kind of things. So I feel like we have got to step forward. We have got to be more proactive. We have got to get, ourselves up on top of the technology because this is not going to go back. We're never going to go backwards. This is only going to stay moving more and more and more forward in this way. I actually did several projects, here recently, 100% remote, 100%. And so I didn't even see the musicians. They just sent me their stuff from their space. And we didn't have a choice. We had to do this way. Otherwise, no projects were getting finished. So you have to kind of look at it like vinyls, back in the day, vinyls, to tapes to CDs, CDs to MP3s, MP3s to streams, and the list goes on. So you look at yourself as a brand, as an artist, as a songwriter, producer, as the same idea. So from live gigs, to concerts, to now we're doing live streams, now we're doing virtual conferences like this. I mean, this is where it's going. So whatever that means to you, whatever you got to do to invest into your career, buy that interface, buy that microphone, upgrade your computer, whatever it is, you got to do it. And having the excuse, so I'm just technically challenged and all those things, you have to kind of get over that. You have to work through that because this is where it's at, social media. You got to get on it. So I'm not trying to harp on things, but you just got to I'm being realist on where we're at. So there is a urgent factor here.
Yeah. And these resources are completely available online, right? You can go to YouTube and pretty much any question you have, you can get it answered, and they will literally show you step by step how to do this stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's really not a whole lot of excuses here. So, stay vigilant, everybody. I know a lot of our audience is other producers. So Justine, can you talk to how you stay vigilant in like these changing markets and identifying trends, and any advice on how to sell your services and build rapport with clients?
Absolutely. So that leads to my last point, which is learn and understand and play to the psychology of your market, your audience, and your clientele. So what I mean by that is you want to be approachable. You don't want people to feel like they're bothering you. So I try to be as approachable as possible. Yes, I have things going on, but I always try to be as hands-on as I possibly can. From examples, like I will never just let time go by and then I'm like reactive to someone, hey, where's my tracks? I'm more proactive. So I'm like, hey, so-and-so, I'm working on your track right now. I'll have it to you in a couple days. And then, it just gives them kind of that like, cool, she's on it. Awesome. I can go about my life and they're feeling comfortable, especially right now with this sort of remote everything. We can't see each other, all these kind of challenges. You have to be even more proactive on staying on top of that because of the psychology factor. Think about the psychology of the receiving end. Is this person feeling like they can trust you? Are they feeling comfortable? They feel like you're not just taking their money and, being an MIA to the situation. All these things you have to kind of be aware of. Your audience, who is your clientele? For me, it's singer-songwriters. That's like 90% of my clients. And then I have some sync licensing. I don't do many bands, but that's my market. So if you're a band, if you're trying to produce bands, you need to figure out how to make that work for you, and understand who your clientele is. Is it like a lot of hip hop people? Are you trying to get to that level? Are you producing a bunch of rock alternative bands like Machine? For me, it's pop, country, and rock singer-songwriter. That's like most of what I do. So it's kind of honing in on that and then making that the best possible. So you want to be genuine, you want to care about your clients, and you want them to know that they are with you on this musical journey. Once again, I think I said it earlier and I'm going to say it again. Like, I can't tell you how much thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that I have paid out to producers. I'm going to use that word in quotations, producers, to pretty much hit a red button and then send me my final track. And there was no like interaction. There was no like, hey, how's it going? Like, blah, none of that. And I've recorded some of the best facilities in Nashville and the world. So it's like, for me, I wanted it to be a different experience for my clients. And I want to make people work harder because I'm working harder, if that makes sense. So yeah, it takes more energy. You have to follow up with your people. You got to send them that text. A thing I do a lot is I go onto their Instagram and their Facebook and I like their statuses. I comment. I'm constantly, interacting with all of my clients and even people that I'm not necessarily working with, but I may have an interest to work with, or they have an interest to work with me. So it's just kind of staying in the realm. I spend about an hour or two a day of doing that and just making it part of your schedule, part of your routine, because it will pay off. The residual will pay off.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, you literally are you're friends with your clients.
Yeah.
And that's how you should be thinking about it.
Yeah.
And yeah. Awesome. Well, Justine, thank you for letting me pick your brain on all these things.
Sure.
So at this point, we're going to switch over to the Q&A.
Okay.
And so if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the Slack channel. I have highlighted one that I saw right away. This question is from Brad Lumley. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Brad. But it's he says, now that you've found so many other projects that keep you busy, or keep you just as busy as when you were performing daily, do you think you'll ever go back to the 5 to 6 performances per week grind post-COVID? And as an additional question, what has been more lucrative for you?
Yeah. So that's a really interesting question. In fact, I asked myself that almost on a daily basis. The venues are slowly opening in Nashville. And I don't know if I really want to go back down that rabbit hole. I have, spent thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in my studio, to get the best equipment, the best microphones, the best computers that I can possibly get. And I just had this conversation with my mom this morning about it, and then the knowledge, and I pretty much live, eat, and breathe this stuff. I don't have a life. This is my life. And so, I consume myself in this whole production, writing, composing aspect to it. And I did it before, but it's on a whole nother level now because of COVID. So for me to feel like I'm going back to playing gigs, honestly, I feel like it's a big step backwards when I feel like I really want to keep moving forward and helping people. I love helping people. I love helping them get their vision and their sound. And if I'm performing 5-6 shows a week, that cuts my time in half of not being able to help my clients and, keep creating songs, making tracks. So we'll see where it goes. And I'm not even sure if Nashville is going to be the same revenue that it was. We made a lot of money off of tips downtown, and so I don't even think anyone's coming to Nashville anymore, at least for a while. So I'd say at least 6 months from now, and then I'll kind of reevaluate where I'm at.
I think we probably have time for one more question.
Sure.
So Jackson's asking, when you're taking a song from bare bones to full production, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, so I think we played a track earlier, and usually I'm given some sort of work tape or phone recording or something like that, and it's usually very, very poor quality. It's out of time, it's out of tune, it's a mess, and so I have to basically almost produce by braille and just kind of interpret what they want. So I ask for a lot of reference tracks. That's a big one, especially for clients I have not worked with before. If I've produced a few of your songs, I kind of know what you want. So I may not be as like a stickler on that, but I'm very, very, very specific. And I'm asking you, like, what do you want? Do you want this kind of vibe? And I can kind of see, sort of get an idea after I hear those reference tracks, then I'll start going to town. But if I'm still unclear, I may even hop on the phone and have a conversation with you. I think we hide behind text and, that kind of thing too much. We got to get on the phone. We got to be proactive and talk to your people and say, hey, exactly what are you looking for? After that process, then I just pretty much, get my work tape, get my chart, lay out that acoustic, lay out that scratch vocal, and then I start building the track from there. My bass, my drums, my guitars, my synths, and my vocals, and then start mixing it. It just starts to come together.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you all for coming to the Music Expo, and thank you, Loic, for having us, and thanks to everybody behind the scenes. I know there's a lot of people making this thing run. So it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you. And if there are more questions, everybody's hanging on the Q&A. Also, make sure to follow both Bobby and Justine. I think they share some links on the social. Please drop a 1 or clap to thank both of them. And a 1, if you appreciate all the insights that were shared today by, great session. Great. Well, it looks like everybody loved it. You guys,
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, and we see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.